everyone. My name is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel and happy Halloween. Today we are trying something that one of you all suggested. We are doing a tier list of who I think the kinkiest Halloween characters are. I don't really know what to expect. We're going to be going on this journey together, and before we get into it, I will just kind of talk about how I made this, because I made this. This is mine, of course, and I think I color coded this differently than a lot of people who do tier lists do, but I wanted to do something that like reflected how kinky things are, like how we code things. And so the bottom is red, and the worst tier are characters that I think are probably kink shamers. You know, people that are just like, I don't know, BDSM, it seems like it's for weird people, I don't get it. Or, you know, people that maybe are into BDSM themselves, but also like to police how everyone else does it. You know, those kinds of people. Then, of course, a nice yellow-toned French vanilla for the vanilla people. It's not necessarily bad. It's not kinky, but it's not bad. And then we have people that are more in the category, or at least characters at least, because these aren't really like, for the most part, people. The next category are characters that are happy to experiment. They're not really kinky, but they're more like, you know, once a year in the bedroom for a birthday, you got something silly at a bachelorette party, you know, you're happy to try it out, but it's not really your thing, you know. And then up from there, we have characters or people that are kinky enough to have a FetLife account, which I decided is like the barrier between like casual bedroom only kind of messing around stuff and like, oh no, you're serious about BDSM. You want to find stuff, you want to find events, you want to connect with people, you want to share videos and pictures and things, like you are in this. And then finally at the very top, blue actually. Green, I felt was like green for green, and then red for like safe word, like at the bottom, bad situation happening. Blue at the top for people that are so into it, or characters that are so into it. They host the local munch. They're not just into BDSM, like, you know, in the bedroom, casually, you know, maybe once in a while they go to a party. No, they're so involved. It's their life, it's their hobby. They are into it. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it, because I have a pretty diverse list of things here to look at. So the first one I have is just like the Grim Reaper. And let me tell you, it was very hard to find a good picture of a Grim Reaper that wasn't like an early mid 2000s like guy that's really into riding motorcycles, like type motif. Like I don't know what it was just like everything's really cheesy. But what I think of the Grim Reaper, actually more what I picture is like death from like the Terry Pratchett books. And I just feel like, you know, he doesn't really do it because it's like a passion project. He's not like, listen, I like collecting souls because it's my kink. It's like, it's my day job, you know. It's like when you have pro doms that they're not really personally kinky, but they do it because it's like good money and it's what they've been doing for a long time. I sort of get the sense that the Grim Reaper is just like, you know, it's not really, doesn't do anything for me on any level. It's just a job, you know. So I'm gonna say the Grim Reaper. Probably vanilla. All right, so the next one, so for fair warning, this may be shocking. I don't really watch horror movies. I did not grow up in that time period. I remember, and this is later on, spoiler alert, there is something from Scream in this, and that was more my era of movies, was like Scream had come out and everyone who wanted to be scary on Halloween had like, they would answer the door with like the Scream, you know, the very famous Ghostface costume. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Ghostface, like there's something else there, but it's just Ghostface, I think. Ghost face. I don't know why that's hard for me to say. Anyways, that was more my era. So I don't think I've ever actually watched the Halloween movies, of which there are many, but this is Michael Myers. Now, I did some research because I wanted to be prepared, and so I watched the Red Letter Media reviews of the Halloween movies, And my conclusion for Michael Myers is like sort of this, because he seems like he's sort of this, like, it's about like the nature of evil and what is evil. And I just feel like he doesn't really, he's probably just like a big old kinkshamer. Like, he probably just doesn't, he doesn't care if you have a good time. He doesn't give a shit about what you personally, he's very selfish. He's not a good guy. And he's probably a kinkshamer. Just bad vibes from him. All right. I feel like I should have reordered this a little bit because I feel like this is going to mess up. This is going to be like the gold standard. So obviously next up we have who else but Morticia and Gomez Addams. I'm not even going to delay. They're just going in the host the munch category. They're very involved on a local and personal level. Like, unless like the whole town could be afraid of them, but they would still try to be like, we need to invite people in to have like our little like munch seance ritual. Like, they'd be very active, maybe even within sort of like the Addams like extended, like their kind of, you know how like, I don't remember which one of the Addams Family movies it's in, but there's one where you like see the wedding and there's like the extended family and like all that stuff, right? Like, I feel like maybe within their community, not in maybe everyday society, they would be very active in terms of like, oh, we gotta be involved, we gotta help people out, you know? And obviously for goths, for kinky people, honestly for everyone, they are couples goals, are they not? Like, they are just, their love is so beautiful and so passionate.
Tish, seeing you like this, my blood boils.
As does mine.
This wheel of pain.
Our wheel.
To live without you, only that would be torture.
A day alone. Only that would be death.
And, like, there is this kind of underlying, like, switchy DS energy they have, where it's like, oh, it's not even just that, like, one of them is always the sub and like Gomez is always the dominant. Like, I'm pretty sure they go back and forth if I had to guess about something. So they're just like, they're the gold standard for this list. All right. So next up, I feel like this might be a little bit controversial. I did not watch Beetlejuice until I was quite a bit older. I'm not really sure why I never watched it, because it was very much on all the time on Disney Channel when I was a kid. But I didn't watch it until I was, I don't know, high school age maybe? And the fact that there's like a whole subplot with Lydia marrying Beetlejuice is just like weird and creepy to me. And Beetlejuice, to me, has like the energy of like that creepy guy who also won't shut up at the munch, where he's like, he's here and he's not like doing enough against the rules to kick him out or like blacklist him, but he also like kind of takes up too much oxygen in the room, if that makes sense. Like, he just is very like self-involved. I don't even necessarily think he would be into it for like super like on a very high level. Like, I can't imagine he'd be like, oh, I'm gonna be a community organizer. But I think in his personal life he would be kinky, but it would be like, he would be very pushy about it, you know? He wouldn't necessarily be a super great partner, but that's my take on it. So I'm gonna say he probably has a FetLife account, but he's like one of those guys that's on there because he like likes to perv other people's pictures a lot. I think that's the reason he's on there. All right. Just for laughs, because I wanted something kind of out there on this list to kind of mix things up, I have the Great Pumpkin from the Charlie Brown Christmas, or the Halloween special. For as far as I know, the pumpkin never actually shows up. It's a mysterious, mystical, legendary pumpkin that never actually appears outside of, depending on how you interpret it, the title screen. So, you might possibly say that the pumpkin is into mindfuckery. Like, the pumpkin is real and it just likes to fuck with people. It's just like, I'm gonna be here, but I'm gonna be invisible and you guys can't see me. Or I'm only gonna show up when you turn your back. Like, he maybe is a little bit into mind stuff, a little bit if you want to go that far, but also it is a pumpkin and like, it is a pumpkin, so we can really project onto it whatever we want. But, you know, I'm probably going to say it's probably vanilla because it is a pumpkin. So, all right, another Addams family member. We have Uncle Fester. I just didn't watch a lot of movies growing up. So whether it's Halloween related, horror movies, anything like pop culturally significant, I probably didn't watch it. So that's not really anything particular about scary or Halloween movies I haven't seen compared to anything else. I just didn't ever see it. I just did never come up. So for Uncle Fester, I'm not sure he's as kinky as Gomez and Morticia, because he he almost has sort of like this compersion about him with the relationship, I feel like, where he's like so happy about their happiness but also wishes he could have a love like that, but he does meet someone at the very end of the movie, spoiler alert, he hasn't quite gotten there yet. So I think he has the potential to kind of be up there, but he doesn't have a partner yet where he's really gotten to be able to experiment and see what his kinks are, you know, yet. And I would say with the relationship he does have in the movie, that it does lean very much towards him almost being like somewhere between like a bottom and like a service submissive.
Oh, Fester, how much do you love me?
With all my soul.
Would you do anything for me?
Anything.
Would you die for me?
Yes.
Promise.
Happy anniversary, Debbie.
So I think he is kinky, but I think it's more reflective of what his partners are. I think he's very much a sort of guy that's like happy to go with the flow. He doesn't really need kink, but he's like happy to do it if it makes you happy. But then also maybe he does BDSM so often, or does kinky stuff so often, like, and it's just kind of normalized because of, you know, his relationship with Gomez and Morticia. He just maybe thinks things, he kind of considers things that could be kinky to be more vanilla because they're so mundane to him. So I definitely think he is kinky, but it more depends on like what his partner's into. So next up, we actually have a couple of horror movies up next. So the next one is Pinhead, and there was a recent new iteration for this franchise that came out, and I can only, having not seen it, I can only go off of superficial judgment, but it kind of seems like the character is wearing some kind of BDSM gear, and they do have a face full of pins. And I did once see someone at a Halloween party turn themselves into like an acupuncture doll, or like a voodoo doll kind of. And so I feel like that's in the realm of kinkiness. I don't think they're probably not like, you know, community organizers necessarily, but they probably are kinky, you know. All right, so next up, we have Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I feel like I'm running into the same logic that I ran into with Michael Myers, which is, okay, this isn't really a good guy. He like travels in your nightmares, and then like, but he can be defeated in the everyday world, right? And I just feel like he'd be kind of a bummer. I just feel like he would not be somebody that would be into, like, you know, there's like that boundary between like what's BDSM and like what's assault, and they're all much more on the assault side of the BDSM spectrum. So sorry, you're probably a kinkshamer. All right, so next up we have Edward Scissorhands, and it's been a very long time since I've seen Edward Scissorhands. So my recollection of it is like, he's very kind, he's very gentle, he has a lot of equipment, okay, he's very specialized, but he's more of a softie, right? He's kind of like the bear at the party who shows up with like a really big toy bag, and you're like, oh no, he's gonna be like a really heavy sadist, he's gonna play super hard, but then when he's really into his like sensation play, and you're like, oh, that okay. So I think he probably is kinky, but he's very like, it's more that sort of like compassionate, I'll do it if you want to do it. Like, he might even be a little bit scared by it, actually. He might not like he might have to be talked into it a little bit, especially if his partner wants to bottom. Like, he'd have to be like, oh, is it okay if I do this? I feel like he'd be a little bit apprehensive, but that's me. All right, so now we're getting less with movies and more into some TV shows. So this one is one of my personal favorites. This is from a show called What We Do in the Shadows, and this is a character named Laszlo. And I knew a guy in the scene that had this man's exact personality. And I'm not saying that he would necessarily, because his personality, he's very like self-important, braggadocious, but like not in a way where he's like only egotistical. Like he has deeper qualities to him besides just that. So I don't think he'd be like selfish guy on Fat Life who's just there to like look at other people's photos and then like log off. I think he would be very involved because there's a scene, I want to say it's a vampire orgy that they're very excited that it's their turn to host.
Our home has been selected to host the vampire orgy.
It takes me at least 6 months to recover from any orgy.
Yes, it does.
Few of my favorite things, as they say. Cat o' nine tails, my codpiece. Bat codpiece.
And so I feel like he would want to be very involved and want to very much be part of the experience. So I think he would also probably host Local Much. He would be the kind of guy where like he welcomes in new people, right? But he always wants to tell everyone about his scenes and the things that he's into. He'd be a little selfish, but he wouldn't necessarily be like the worst organizer ever either. All right, so next up we have the Vampire Lestat, of course, and or Lesdot, I think is how I saw on Wikipedia the other night that it's apparently supposed to be pronounced in like a very like French way, like in some of the like novels it's supposed to be Lestot, like so I'm like I've never taken a French lesson a day in my life, so make of that what you want to. It really depends on what media you're looking into for what category he would be in. Because if you're going off of Interview with a Vampire, I don't think he would be very, he would not be a good person on this list, let's say that. But if you were kind of reading things from his story and his perspective, if you're reading the books, I think it would be much more charitable. And he does strike me as being like, you know, maybe not like kinky, but like kind of hedonistic in the sense of like, well, I'd be happy to do it if it enhances the other things that I want and gets me the stuff that I want, but maybe not like enjoying it for its own sake. But also like if you're a vampire, if you had access to the internet, kind of taking sort of Vampire the Masquerade logic here, that is a really good way to like meet people to be victims without the risk of having to deal with meeting people in person and you know, things like that. So I think if he, you know, lived in the internet age and he had a computer and knew how to use it and like it wasn't like repulsive to him, I think he probably would have a Fat Life account. And he'd be doing some browsing for cute boys on there. That's what I think. All right, we have a lot of vampires in a row here, I'm realizing. So next up, we have Dracula. But specifically, in the case of this photo, Bram Stoker's Dracula, who I believe was played by Gary Oldman. And as far as I can remember, every goth girl wanted to be Mina and have this red dress in this scene. And I remember watching this movie, and there's not really any sort of like explicit BDSM in the sense of like a flogging or something, but I do think that Dracula would probably be kinky. However, I don't think that he would want to be very public. He's very much like, he's the guy that goes to a munch And then he shows up there because he wants to meet his like forever partner. And the second he meets the person that he's going to declare is going to be my lifelong forever permanent slave, he just dips out, you know? He's not really interested in community involvement, but would definitely show up and take advantage of the resources for like finding a partner, but doesn't really care about anything else. So I would say he almost kind of fits somewhere between like has a FetLife account and is happy to experiment. I think because he's not really, I'll say he's more happy to experiment, but like it's more than experimenting. Okay. All right. So next up we have my favorite, actually all of the characters in What We Do in the Shadows is my favorite, but we have Nadja is our next one on the list. And I think I already gave the explanation for the last character, and they're like, I'm not sure where she fits on, like, she could be more of a hedonist, but I think she also has a little bit more of, like, she could definitely be a dom. She definitely has that, like, energy in some of the photo shoots and things that they've done for, like, promotional stuff for the show. Like, there's one I remember where she, I think it's, like, her writing on a guy's head. So I feel like she would also be very involved locally, would maybe be less braggadocious about it, would maybe be more like, I actually want to do this well, and I'm doing this because I want to meet lovers and I want to meet people who want to do stuff with me, rather than just to be like, I want to boast about my exploits, you know? So I think she would probably be in the host to munch category. All right, next up we have Jack Skellington. And I didn't look, but I am very curious. If I go to AO3, how much BDSM fanfiction is there of Jack Skellington? How much? Is it a lot? Is it like most of it? Is it half of it? Is there none? I don't know. I get the sense Jack Skellington is like, he's like the goth kid that wears, like, he's got the big chunky collars, he's got, you know, maybe he has like a chain link around his neck, maybe like one of those like Home Depot chains on like a jewelry thing, and maybe he has like some cuffs he wears a lot, like maybe he wears a dog collar every day. He's the goth kid who wears a dog collar every day. And I think it's sort of like a mistaken identity thing, where like he looks like he should be into it, but really on the inside he's like soft, fluffy, warm bread, and doesn't really, he's like, I mean, I could try it if you're into it, but like, wouldn't it just be nice if we could just kiss? Like, I think culturally he's been around BDSM a lot and would get it, but also sort of like, I don't know, it's not the most important thing ever. Like, I'm happy to do if it makes you happy, but like, I can take it or leave it. I know what the options are. I'm aware of it. I'm not a kink shamer. I'm very much kink aware, but it's not really like my thing on a personal level. So I'm gonna say Jack Skellington, happy to experiment, but not necessarily somebody who's gonna push to do it either. Very kink friendly, kink aware, not a kink pusher. All right, so next up we have Lily Munster from the Munsters, who I feel like is like the more wholesome foil to the Addams family. Like, I have not watched, or am not very aware of, a lot of like Munsters media. It's not really my main thing, but I feel like it's a little bit more wholesome, a little bit more vanilla, less of the aggressive, sexual, in-your-face romance of the Addams family. So I'm gonna say that Lily Munster is probably vanilla. Not in a way where it's like, kink's bad, I don't like it, it's gross. It's sort of like, you know, everyone is into different stuff, and this is my thing. All right, so Jack Skellington, of course, he can't be by himself. We have to have Sally. I feel like Sally would be happy in like a normal relationship. Like, she just wants someone to like love and be with and like be there for her, and she doesn't necessarily want like anything additional on top of that to like make it more complicated. Like, I don't see her being into like a power exchange relationship. I don't really see her being into like, because also it's like contextually, like if you're in that universe, like, can anything really be kinky? Because like everything kind of weird is like, everything abnormal is normal. So I don't, it's like, if you think too much about it, the logic is kind of confusing. I think that Sally's probably more vanilla contextually in her culture. Like, for people of her kind, Sally's probably vanilla, probably very normal. She's not really into anything that's like too off the wall. But I think maybe he thought about it in terms of like what people in our everyday life would consider kinky or not. That may be a little bit different, but I think for her own sake, Sally's probably vanilla. All right, next up we have, I previously mentioned this, Ghostface from Scream. And this is where it gets hard for me because, like, as I said, when I was growing up, anything from Scream was like a big deal for Halloween. Like, there was decorations and costumes, and like you could buy the knife that had like the fake blood on it. And I actually don't know how they did it. I think it was probably like a plastic veneer over it that let like a really, really, really small amount of like a red liquid come out, and then it would vacuum it up when it was turned off. I don't know. But everyone was really into Scream stuff around Halloween. And I feel like Scream is like a really good concept for something kinky as like a scene, but like the character with the I feel like I get more of that energy, but not in a good way. Like, if you have somebody that goes online and like brags about being into BDSM because it's like they like, oh, it's gonna be a good way to find hot chicks for me to have sex with or kill, I guess in this case, I feel like stuff murdered by like personal fetishes or personal kinks, but like sort of in a selfish way where it's like, I don't really care what you're into, I don't really care what you want, it's all really about me, and like I'm gonna dispose of you when I'm done, and sort of like you not liking it is part of the thrill. Like a really messed up way of doing anything kink related, but would I'm gonna actually say probably would have a FetLife account, because it would be a good way to like stalk and profile people maybe, and like maybe try to flirt with TOS lines for like what you could post on the site. Does that logic make sense? I don't know. I feel like I'm going a little bit off the rails here. All right. So next up, we have two left here. Frankenstein's monster. There's so many iterations of this character. Again, it really does depend. Okay, how are we thinking about, what are we thinking about Frankenstein's monster? Are we thinking of like young Frankenstein? Are we thinking of like in the Munsters? Are we thinking of like in like some other more recent media, or just like in general from like the original works of fiction, you know? I don't know why this one's like hard for me to decide where he would end up. I feel like he probably would be vanilla, actually, because I feel like very simplistic, you know, not very complicated in terms of needs or desires. Like wouldn't really get anything extra out of adding BDSM, right? All right, and then so finally we have Satan or the devil, and this one is interesting to me because I thought about this. So if you think of Satan as like a devil, the devil's probably really into contracts. Like probably has a contract fetish in the sense of like, I want you to sign this paper to, you know, hand over your life to me kind of energy. Would definitely, well, you know, actually it's sort of funny because again, it sort of depends on how you conceptualize of like Satan and like the devil, and sort of like how do you think about this character? Is it like pure evil? Is it like hedonism and selfishness? Like where are we going with this? And I think for me in my head, I'm thinking of Satan as like a guy that's really into contracts and wants to have a good time, you know, isn't really beholden to like moral expectations or any sort of like religious preconceptions, just wants to get out there, have a fun time, and, you know, wouldn't necessarily mind if you wanted to sign on the dotted line to give up your soul in servitude to him for the next 300 years. Is it possible that hell has a munch? Is it possible that kinky people in hell gather together? Because, like, like if you're into kink, you're probably going to hell. Like, it's probably part of the deal. So if you're in hell, is there a munch? I'm gonna say that Satan would organize a munch. All right. That's it. We're done. Okay. All right. So I would be very, very curious to know what you all think about this. There's more I could add to this in terms of characters, but I feel like I had a good number though. Is there anyone that I missed? Anyone that you guys would like to know? How kinky are they? In my subjective, very judgmental opinion, how kinky are they? I would love to know what you all think about this in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I have it all totally wrong? Do you get it? Do you understand the logic? Let me know again in a comment down below. And I think that's going to be it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a safe and happy Halloween. I'm going to go do a mummification scene. So that's what I'm going to do with my afternoon on the day before Halloween. Hope you all have a fun one. Again, stay safe. And by the way, if you guys are for some reason just seeing this now, I have a whole YouTube channel. I do educational BDSM and alternative relationship content primarily. You can subscribe to that down below if you've not already. If you do already, thank you so much. I just love that you all are here watching my videos, hanging out with me a couple times a week. And then also, finally, if you did enjoy this, we have a Patreon account that keeps my channel going, and that is where I host other things, like we had a Halloween movie night, I do video previews, I do extra bonus content, extra videos, previews of things. It's a really, really good time over there. And if you do already support my Patreon, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. If you've not, go ahead and check it out in a link down below. Thank you all again so much for being here, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye!